It's a hypothetical, and it's
You
not
can't answer
answerable.
hypotheticals?
No, I can't answer a hypothetical like
What?
that because
Did
it's
you eat
far.
today?
Right-wing content creator Jordan Peterson got a little rattled during a debate on God. So in this video, I have several clips to share from this Jubilee debate where it was once titled one thing and changed to something else. I'll get to that later. But this is such a stupid debate. Let me just be clear. I will link to the full thing below the video. You can watch it if you want, but I'm warning you, you're not going to get a whole lot out of it because this entire debate is based in the certainty of the unknown. Let me get to Jordan Peterson's entire argument here and how ridiculous this is.
Morality and purpose cannot be found within science.
If you're saying that morality and purpose cannot come from science, is the opposite of that true, that morality and purpose can only come from God?
That's a way of defining it, yes.
Okay.
That's right, that's good. So I would say that with regard to the first claim, say, atheists don't understand what they're rejecting, because I would say by definition, God is the unity upon which moral claims are based. That's a definition.
If he believes that all morality is based in God, then how can anyone possibly argue with him when his argument is based on a definition of the unknown? I think there's a lot about our world that we can't explain, so to be so certain about the answers to me is just bizarre. But this is what this entire debate is based upon. The fact that you can't explain where morality comes from, therefore, Christianity is the basis for all morality. How do you debate with somebody who is so certain in uncertainty? This actually reminded me of a quote from Conclave. Over the course of many years in the service of our mother of the church, let me tell you, there is one sin I have come to fear above all others: certainty. Certainty is the great enemy of unity. Certainty is the deadly enemy of tolerance. Even Christ was not certain at the end. Quote, my God, why have you forsaken me? He cried out in his agony at the 9th hour on the cross. Our faith is a living thing precisely because it walks hand in hand with doubt. If there was only certainty and no doubt, there would be no mystery and therefore no need for faith. Now, all of this is sort of immaterial. In fact, this entire debate is not based in any sort of material reality, which is why I find it so bizarre to even try and debate this issue at all. But it gets even odder because Jordan Peterson, I think this may be the second or third clip, but we'll get there. Jordan Peterson does not even claim to be a Christian. He will not say whether or not he's actually Christian, despite the fact that the initial title of this video apparently was One Christian versus 20 Atheists, which was then changed to Jordan Peterson versus 20 Atheists. So why would you debate from the position of Christianity if you yourself aren't even a Christian? Unless there are some ulterior motives at play here, which you may speculate what those are on your own. But let me get to the next clip here. So that was Brian in that clip with Jordan Peterson. He goes on to explain where he derives his morality from.
I'm actually a non-theist. I'm not an atheist. I believe the human condition is one of uncertainty. And what that means is that I don't believe that you can conclude there is a God with certainty, and I don't believe that you can conclude that there is a God without in the same position. Now, with that, I don't care. I still wake up every day, and I have motivation to be a moral person.
Define moral.
Moral, what I ought to do.
Okay, and how do you come to that conclusion?
And what I ought to do, ultimately it comes down to what not just benefits me, but what benefits the entire planet, what benefits the entire system. I think that your entire moral perspective comes from linear thinking, and when you look at the reality of the universe, it's actually more so holistic.
So I tend to agree with Brian here. I'm always quite skeptical of people who feel like they need a rule book to be a good person, because that tends to mean that they lack any sort of internal morality, any sort of empathy. So they need something else. That said, if that's going to ensure that they are not terrible people, then nothing's wrong with them following some sort of rule book, some sort of religion, I suppose, to ensure that they stay down a certain path. But oftentimes, the most religious people are also the worst people. So there is no, there's no one and the same when it comes to following a Christianity, for example, and being a good person. Which again, it goes back to why I find it so ridiculous to try and base morality in Christianity, especially when we get to what's in the Bible, and a future clip touches on that. But this also gets to the people that do need a rule book but don't have one. I think of people like Donald Trump, whose entire life is based in narcissism. He clearly does not feel empathy, but he succeeds. Many people who are born into situations that are favorable to them in terms of money and status, because of course his parents were already wealthy, so he didn't have to work a whole lot to succeed early in life. Those sorts of people who are given those advantages and don't have any kind of moral center are able to succeed in this ridiculous society, because we have based a society around greed, essentially. If you're able to cheat your way to the top, you can do that, especially if you don't feel for the people around you or the people you impact while you are getting to the top. Let me get to the next clip now. This is Parker, who completely dismantles Jordan Peterson over a simple hypothetical.
So do you believe in the all-knowing, all-powerful, all-good notion of God?
What do you mean by believe?
Do you think it to be true?
That's the circular definition. What do you mean
How
when
is
you
that
say you
circular?
believe?
How is that circular?
Because you added no content to the answer by substituting the word true and believe.
I said you think it to be true.
All right. So if
What's
you
a
believe
belief?
something, you stake your life on it.
What do you mean by that?
You live for it and you die for it.
Okay, so you're saying that you don't believe something if you wouldn't die for it? Is that
Not
what you're
really, no.
saying? Okay. So then,
How would you define belief? Something you say?
Can I explain? Like, I could believe it is the case that this pen exists, but if someone like threatened my life, right, I would lie in order to be able to save my life, right? Like, I think you would do that too. You wouldn't lie to save your
Don't be
life?
so sure.
You wouldn't lie to save your life?
How much do you know about me? I didn't lie to save my career. I didn't lie to save my clinical practice.
Would you lie to like save your children, your mom, your dad?
I don't think lying would save them.
No, can there ever be a circumstance logically that lying could save someone?
Yeah, and if you're steeped in sin, you're likely to live in circumstances like that.
I'll give you an example. If you're like in like Nazi Germany, and it is the case that there's like Jewish people in your attic and you're trying
I
to
know
protect
the
them,
example.
would you lie to like the Nazis? If
I
they're
would have
asking?
done everything I bloody well could, so I wouldn't be in that situation
you
to
lie?
begin with. It's a hypothetical, and it's
You
not
can't answer
answerable.
hypotheticals?
No, I can't answer a hypothetical like
What?
that because
Did
it's
you eat
far.
today?
Look,
Did you eat
don't
today?
play games.
I'm not playing a game. I'm just asking
Yes,
if you
you
ate
are.
it.
If you present me with an intractable moral choice that's stripped of context and you back me into a corner, you're playing game. I just told you
Hypothetical?
I would do everything that I could to make sure that I'm never in that situation. By the time you've got there, you've made so many mistakes that there's nothing you can do that isn't a sin.
Being born in Nazi Germany and trying to protect people that you care about, like there could be a Jewish friend that you have and you want to protect them.
I think you should
have
just
them in
give
your
up on
attic.
that line of questioning.
Give up on just like trying to clarify your position? Because you
I
don't
did
like, are you like
clarify.
uncomfortable with me asking this question? It's just a basic hypothetical. Like I could ask you.
It's just a
did you-
basic
yeah, yeah.
hypothetical
Like, you
where you
if
put Jews' lives at stake in Nazi Germany. That's just a basic hypothetical.
Obviously, you would lie in that scenario to save their life, but you're like not trying to answer this question for some reason.
I just told you why.
Are you anti-fascist? Like, so you're
Why are
anti-fascist?
you asking that?
I was just asking, just clarifying.
All right, so I'm not usually a fan of hypotheticals because I prefer to live in the real world and use real world examples of things that are actually happening. But this whole debate is based in a hypothetical of God. So a hypothetical argument is perfectly at home here. And Jordan Peterson sets himself up. He's the one that says, quote, if you believe something, you stake your life on it. A bit melodramatic, that said. He's faced with a hypothetical here. Would you lie to save someone's life? And he wouldn't answer it, which is so, like, there was an easy way for him out of this argument, which is to say, well, my morality is based in human life. So of course I would lie because that's what the morality is based in. But instead, because he's basing his morality in some amorphous idea of what God is, then he's not able to answer the question. So again, this gets to why is the idea of God, why is that superseding any sort of material idea of what you believe in the real world? Like life, like family, like human rights, workers' rights. Why aren't you basing morality in that as opposed to basing it in the Bible or God? It's just this. I think this debater probably did the best job at exposing how stupid this entire thing is. That said, there's another one. Danny's the next clip I'm going to share here, where he just sort of has fun with this whole thing.
Are you familiar with the Immaculate Conception?
Why is that relevant?
Because you go to a Catholic church, don't you? Or you've attended recently. You're interested in Catholicism, aren't you?
Sure,
All right. Are you familiar with their doctrines?
somewhat.
Okay, you're
Their
familiar.
doctrines are very
how do they
deep.
regard Mary?
Why are you asking me that?
Because you're a Christian.
You say that. I haven't claimed that.
Oh, what is this? Is this Christians versus atheists?
I don't know.
You don't know where you are right now.
Don't be a smartass.
Well,
and I mean
either
it,
you're a
'cause I
Christian
won't
or you're
talk to
not.
you if you're a smartass.
Oh, either you're a Christian or you're not. Which one is it?
I could be either of them, but I don't have to tell you.
You don't have to tell me. I was under the impression
private.
I was invited to talk to a Christian. Am I not talking to a Christian?
No, you were invited to.
I think everyone should look at the title of the YouTube channel. You're probably in the wrong YouTube video,
You're really quite something, you are.
aren't I? But you're really quite nothing, right? You're not a Christian.
Okay, I'm done with him.
All right. Well, to be fair, the kid's being a little rude. If you're trying to convince somebody of something, which is not what he's trying to do there, just to be clear. But if you are trying to convince somebody of something in a debate, that's not the attitude you want going in the debate. That said, this probably is the attitude you should be going into this debate with because of how ridiculous the entire basis for Jordan Peterson's argument is. Now, the initial title of the video apparently was One Christian versus 20 Atheists, which they then changed to Jordan Peterson versus 20 Atheists. Why? Who knows? Maybe he complained. Maybe they were reminded of the fact that he said during the debate that he never claimed he was a Christian. So, but still, why are you here in this debate basing all of your arguments within Christianity and the Bible? Yet you won't even say if you're a Christian. It's kind of weird. Here is the last clip. This is Ian, who dismantles the idea that morality is based in Christianity.
My final claim is that atheists accept Christian morality, but deny the religion's foundational stories.
So in 1 Samuel 15:3, God says, go and slaughter the Amalekites, slaughter the men, the women, the children, the infants. What's the justification for that? Is that in line
That's a
with
good
Christian
question.
ethics?
That's a good question. I don't really know what to do with the terrible, blood-soaked, saturated history of the human past. I don't know. And I don't think anybody knows. I mean, what you try to do in your own life, as far as I can tell, is to conduct yourself in a manner that makes such things much more unlikely.
I totally agree.
We're all saddled with the problem of the catastrophes that got us here, aren't we?
Yeah, but this one was commanded by God. That's the problem.
Yeah,
That's
well-
what differentiates it from anything else, is that this one, it's God
Do you
saying,
think that
go
there's
and do
ever
this
such a thing?
atrocity.
Do you think that there's ever such a thing as a righteous war?
I'm skeptical. I'm not sure. It would probably be situational.
Well, right, fair
Yeah,
enough.
but
I
this
mean,
one
people,
certainly wasn't a just war. The context for the Amalekite slaughter is that 400 years earlier, they fought one battle, which they lost, and God says, that's it, I'm going to wipe them off the face of the goddamn earth. And then 400 years later, he commands the Israelites to genocide their great-great-great-great-great-great-grandchildren. That's not a just war at all. And also, a genocide is not a war.
well, a genocide can be a war, but
Absolutely not.
Look.
The genociding of the Amalekites, the men, the women, and the infants, that's not a war. The infants aren't combatants.
look, I already said that it's very difficult to look at the blood-soaked past and to know exactly what to do about it.
Except that is not the argument that was being made. Your argument was atheists accept Christian morality, but deny the religion's foundational stories. Here you have Ian, who is embracing the religion's foundational stories. God is telling these people to do horrible things, and you are outright rejecting those stories, even though your own argument says we should be embracing them. But to embrace them means you embrace doing horrible things in the obedience towards God. So I don't think Jordan Peterson won one argument throughout that entire hour and a half debate. The best he could do is skirt around it and make a different argument. And again, when the basis of your argument is morality is based in God, how can anybody possibly argue with you when you are so certain about uncertainty? None of it makes any sense. Last thing worth mentioning here is just the fact that he conflated genocide and war there, which worth bringing up this tweet from October 7th. Give him hell, Netanyahu. Enough is enough. And then indeed, Netanyahu went on to give them hell.